We're down to council reports. Phew. All right. Councilmember Buckland.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I noticed that after all the melee, Dan Flores departed the room, our supervisor that represents the lower portion of Yuba City. He always makes sure that at SACOG that he follows any comments I make with the fact that he represents the citizens of Yuba City on the Sutter County Board. So I wanted to give him all due honor, but he didn't stay for it. But it does go hand in hand with our, I did attend SACOG Board of Directors meeting with Dan, and we did have the opportunity to go through a number of processes down there. And one of the things that we received information on was how the Franchise Tax Board and all of our sales taxes and everything flow through the state. And we had an expert giving us this information. The expert spent nearly 25 minutes trying to explain the flow of tax dollars through Amazon.com and out-of-state purchases to local purchases to large purchases. And by the end of it, this expert said, well, wait a minute, I'm going to have to go over to Board of Equalization and get some more answers because I don't know exactly where the tax dollars are flowing to and from and at what rate, and how they're being shared in county pools because of the various agreements throughout the state of California with the state of California and how they have all chose to split up taxes. So I left far more confused from that informational input than anything else, and so that led to a great conversation between Supervisor Flores and myself on the way home that we needed to get more information, and we personally in the Sutter County portion of this, we're going to start digging through that information as it's provided to us from the Board of Equalization. After that, I did attend a workshop, and it was a large community workshop called Civic Lab. Our city manager was also there, along with Supervisor Flores, and really looking at transportation, disruptive technologies within transportation, and looking to see how things are going to transpire, not just now, but in 5 years. Autonomous vehicles, how you park, how you operate, how they're going to get tested, how bus systems are going to be tested. And the very first public transportation bus test was done in West Sacramento just a matter of a couple months ago. It's illegal to do it on the road because the state of California won't allow it. So it was done in the ball field parking lot. That test went remarkably well. So what we are looking for is the opportunity for Sacramento and this region, this 6-county region, to become a test bed for much of this disruptive technology, whether it be the use of modified Uber-type vehicles for our transportation needs, even locally. The dial-a-ride type activities are going on. Buses that run routes at different hours that don't have a high ridership could be replaced with Uber and Lyft. Those type of things were what's being discussed in this public setting, and looking at increasing ridership but yet reducing costs overall. So this is a completely out of the box discussion, and in fact will expand into our area should we choose to become one of the team members here locally, and we're going to seek out public input on whether we want to set up a team and contribute. It's a small monetary contribution to be able to get into this, but we certainly would gain some by being a rural community willing to step in and have some of that technology be tested here or developed as a need for here, because there's not going to be many others that fit our same model. So I think, and I'm not going to speak for the city manager, but I came out of it rather encouraged that there is a place in this. There's a place in that discussion for Yuba City. Then also just the other day, along with the mayor and Councilmember Cardoza, we attended the Sutter County Schools, their adult ed program has been working on a number of different projects. It's an incredible kind of reverse engineered educational opportunity for adults that never got their high school diploma. They work towards that diploma. But shockingly, they found that the number one thing that employers needed of their employees in the Yuba County area was the ability to read a tape measure, because they just didn't know how. So part of their educational process was to build up a system where they had to use a tape measure. They learned fractions from the tape measure itself, and in that real application, they started to get it. As a result, their test scores didn't just go up marginally, they went up significantly in their testing. But they built a mobile book share box that is at Shanghai Bend. It's blue, orange, and yellow. You can't miss it. It looks like a birdhouse. But you can go there and take out books to read. The neighborhood can take out books to read and replace it with a book that you want to put into it. It will be monitored for appropriate books being placed in there. So we'll see how that works. They built benches and all kinds of things. Remarkable, really a remarkable group of kids. It is pretty cool. Now the last little piece, and I'm going to set this up as they're getting ready for it to go. I have a video. I've been working on some video for Sutter Butte flood control on the levee. So I'm going to catch you up to date of about a week and a half ago of actual work up on the levee. And I'll try to narrate as best I possibly can with my very little knowledge on video on levee repairs of what is going on up there. First part of the process is to degrade the levees down to a height that they can get first the base to do much of what you're going to see in the future. There's 3.5 miles of this. This is emergency repair that is being funded not by the local assessment dollars, but by by DWR, primarily the state of California. Part of that degrading and building up the slurry pads and also for excavation is all part of that pre-work that was going on as soon as they had gotten the degrading done. This is actually between the two bridges. This is one of the first areas to finish up, and they are finished to the certain point that it's at now. It's in a resting period to let the settling of the material, the slurry wall, in there. This is where we had the most significant problems with boils and seepage. This is adjacent to Willow Island. It's an extra wide sectional levee. Part of that happened over the course of years and different repairs that went on to that section. The process of mixing the slurry is all done with heavy equipment. You'll see the excavators actually working it. They work it with bulldozers. Part of what they're doing is they have to get the proper consistency. The trench that you see there is about 72 feet deep. And these excavators are long reach excavators that are going down into that trench, removing the material. That material gets mixed in with the consistent water that you see as a bentonite and water material that holds the walls apart. While they mix this material, it all has to be placed back in the trench within 48 hours. So there is a time constraint. They can't take time off, but they are out there working full time There is all kinds of geological, the geotechs are out there to make sure that they're into the proper level of clay before they can start putting this material in. It's a 24-hour process, so they're working at night. Some of these shots are made at 10 o'clock at night. Up on the levees, lighting and everything else. And every one of the workers, those guys love it when it's 110 degrees outside because they have what they call the remarkable shift, and the other guys have the bacon shift, as it was explained to me today. They just sit there and fry on that levee for their 12-hour shifts. Again, not much is slowing these guys down. They are progressing at the pace that they believe will get this job done by the first part of October. If you really want to see the depth in which they're digging, this is a fairly good perspective. He'll drive the excavator all the way down into the slurry. It's kind of hard on the equipment, they tell me. It might wear some things out. And once he gets the bucket load, they bring it back up, occasionally test it again. The geotechs test it just to make sure that they're in the proper materials. So that can be mixed and then re-entered as part of that slurry consistency. That slurry is much like wet, gooey. I would use many other terms, but it's kind of like a stucco is what it's much like. When it's all done and put back in, they cap it. It sits for 21 days and settles. Then they come back, scrape off their cap cover, and then the vibration and everything begins. They put the final cap on the slurry wall. So we're excited with the level of activity. All the heavy equipment from between the two bridges has been removed and put down next to the airport. So they're working on that down at the airport, which is again about 3 miles from that piece of equipment, way down the levees past the two bridges. So again, things are progressing, and we're excited. There'll be a full video on this, and that video's being scheduled back in Washington, D.C. to show the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee once the project is completed, because this is a model project for our nation. Yep. And one other little point that one reason they can move fairly quick through this is an emergency repair, and it doesn't completely negate the cultural sensitivity of the project, but there are limits as to what can stop the progress because of the emergency repair. So there are anthropologists and cultural awareness folks that are on site all the time, but they keep moving through the process unless they come to a significant find, and they don't anticipate doing that through this section. So with that, that's all I have, Mayor.
There we go. Thank you. Next one, I'm going to go with Mr. Harris.
Once again, I don't have a video.
However, I'll put one together for you one day.
That's all good. With stuff related to my boards and commissions, BMLC was the primary event that I attended. Meetings with those folks, getting to know my new liaison commander out there at Beale, Lieutenant Colonel Dalby, who's in charge of the civil engineering squadron out there. Very good guy. Met with a lot of the other colonel and lieutenant colonels out there and on some of their staff. Basically, the intent is to support them. We went to the Yuba City stand down, and Colonel Broadwell, the commander of Beale, asks, I believe it was Mr. Mayor, you and I, what can I do for you? And our collective response to him was, we should be asking you that.
Yeah.
And
we did.
Yeah. And they just have a very good heart, very good intention. They respect our community. We likewise respect them. And once again, it's an honor to be a part of that group. I'm still getting started. They've had a few change of commands over there, and so this, besides just the initial meeting, I'll have an event on Friday that I'll be attending, and it should be a good time. We have Yuba City Arts Council. Not necessarily formally as a part of my role here in the council, but because of my role here in the council, they have asked me to be a part of their board. And just quickly, if you see some of the utility boxes around town being painted, that's them, a project they got a grant to do. I was particularly in favor of the fact that they're going to be painting a box over by Winco with a bunch of chickens on it. So that's going to be good. Is it done? All right. So that's good. They're good folks. They have a few shows going on. If anybody is inclined to support them and attend an event, I would highly encourage you to do so. The transportation priorities meeting recently out at Caltrans District 3 office in Marysville, emceed by Congressman Garamendi and Lamalfa. Very good attendance out there, and not necessarily over here in Yuba City, but it is part of our community where they're going to be protecting and improving Highway 70 northbound, north out of Marysville. Since 2010 alone, at least 33 fatalities have occurred in that stretch of road. Having worked out there in many capacities, if you will, it is, no pun intended, an accident waiting to happen, because it is just people drive out of control. So the goal is eventually to get 2 lanes in each direction with 1 center lane down the middle, 2-way turn lane. I happened to send a few people that work for me out there that afternoon, and in 5 hours they took 1 person in jail, took over 3 pounds of marijuana off the road, and issued 27 citations. And that quick. So it's clearly a problem. It's clearly something we need to address actively, and it's my intention to do so. Until we can get that roadway widened and improved and make it more safe. Now, the timeline is 5 years out for that to be completed. I mentioned we went to the Yuba Center stand down just briefly. Very good event, supporting of our veterans, the folks who served. It was very good. It's growing exponentially, I think, every year. A lot of relevant services. Someone gave me the figure that if they would have had to seek out and obtain those services that were present at the stand down, kind of an a la carte basis, without that one-stop shopping venue, it would have taken them over a month to get from A to B, and not to mention transportation and making appointments and everything else. So it's a very good thing. I give a lot of services, a lot of assistance to those folks who need it and deserve it, in my opinion. Other than that, I'm good.
All right. Councilman Cardoza.
Okay, it's getting late, so I'll be quick about this. For meetings, I attended the Yuba City Transit Authority meeting, our Regional Housing Authority, Regional Waste Management, Economic Development Commission, and Planning Commission. Chamber events, we had Business After Hours, and it's for the Wings of Ingalls Foundation. They're sort of like a Ronald McDonald House, except they're in Northern California. They help take care of families when their children are sick, and it's all paid for. The families are all taken care of and paid for. Attended the Business Connection Breakfast. The topic was workforce development with Councilman Harris, and then my monthly ambassador meetings. For community and city events, attended the Sutter Buttes Flood Agency, the public meeting at Boyd Hall that was updating the residents on levee construction and the progress and the plans. And then I also had a tour with the mayor on our levees here at 2nd Street. And I also had the honors of this month. I got to do the monthly phone call updates of Oroville Dam with Mayor Cleveland. I also was at the vet stand down. I did a couple of days there. They had me being the greeter. I had the honors of
The official greeter.
the official greeter. I had the honors. The only reason why I know this is because I helped make the bags. I shook hands with 750 veterans in 2 days. So it was a wonderful event, a great turnout and wonderful event. I attended the swearing-in ceremony for our 2 new community services officers at the PD. I went down with our sobriety checkpoint officers. It was rather a peaceful night until we had a fire down the street and they shut the roads down. And then it got kind of busy after that. With city events, I attended the solar eclipse tailgate party with city staff at the water treatment plant. Did the dedication with John at Shanghai. I dedicated some time for the Kiwanis for the Hogs and Hulas and the Blues and Brews Festival. Attended the Epic 80s dance party at Councilman Buckland's building, Millennium. It was for the Stand for the Silent. And I attended the Nicholas Parade Monday. Wonderful turnout. They said there was 1,000 people there. There was more than 1,000, but it's getting bigger and bigger every year. It's a wonderful time. 5,000? Yeah. Anyway, it was a great time. Yeah, but it was a great time. And if you haven't been there, I encourage you to go next year because it's a wonderful time. And that's it for me.
Great. Thank you. Vice Mayor Didball.
Okay, mine's very short because since our since our last council meeting, I was literally on vacation. I got back on the 28th and have not had a meeting because with the holiday. So this is my first meeting upon returning. So back to work.
Yes.
Yeah, tough one.
Well, since I wasn't here, the last meeting, I was helping my son move to Tampa Bay, Florida. Military sending him there and just making, after my daughter-in-law having operations, it was difficult for her to be doing it. So my wife and I took time off and did that. That's the family one. Other than that, I did go to FRACMID, Air Quality Management District meetings. Sabufka, Southern Flood Control Agency, that was the week before I had gone, and Gilsizer Drainage District. Also attended the financial committee because we needed quorum regarding the $25 million that the state was giving to the Sabufka to do this emergency work that we're having done, which everybody's just shocked that we were able to get that, and we're somewhat surprised too, but very pleased. And then from there, many of the other meetings, the community things, attended also, and like Preet said, we're all back to work again, and I'm getting everybody's back from vacation, so I'm getting phone calls every day, 2 or 3 times a day for meetings and coming and chatting and issues. So people are back at it again. With that, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.